Hey everyone, just showing you the process of creating a portrait of my wife Lisa to match the self-portrait that I did earlier this year. I'm just going to show you some tips and tricks on how I set up my pastels. This is my favourite paper at the moment. It's a Canson Mitiente's velvet paper. Unlike other pastel papers, it's not actually just made of paper with craters in it. It's got a sanded finish on it. And it's got quite a thick, strong backing on it as well. But yeah, it's super soft, even though it's sanded. That literally feels like velvet. When I print my reference photos for my portraits, I print them in Officeworks at exactly the same size as what the portrait will actually be, because that way I can measure it all up properly and get the correct proportions and dimensions. This is just me showing how I'm so precise in getting the tape to line up exactly with the edges of the portrait. So this is the special tray that I've actually made to hold my pastel pencils. I basically made it because I like to have access to all of the pencils at once. I don't want to kind of have to open up one tray to look in and find my color that I need, which is the case with the set of pastel pencils that I bought. It actually is two trays in the box that are on top of each other. So I made this, which is very convenient for me. I just made it out of balsa wood and measured it up. This is just showing the box of the pastel pencils and what I was talking about. There's two trays that are layered above the other. They're both different thicknesses, so it's kind of hard to set them up and select your pastel that you need. I do use quite a lot of colors when I'm doing a portrait because I'm mixing them on the paper itself. So I'm quite often not just using one color, sometimes I'm blending them together. So I did set them up like this, as you can see originally, but they would fall off and it was just getting really annoying. So I just made this lovely little tray that they can all just slot into, and I think it works really good. I do use some other brands of pencils, mainly because they have the colours in them that I want, so particularly the flesh tones. I've found that unfortunately the Carinda Ash don't have some precise tones that I actually need. Well, they don't sell them individually at the art store that I go to, so I'm sure you could probably get them online. I have used Conte pastels as well, but I find that they're actually super hard pastels. They're not as soft as what the Carinda Ash pastels are, and as you can see here, they're hardly making a mark on my finger at all, whereas the Carinda Ash ones, you can see there straight away the pigment's coming off onto my skin, so it's showing that it's really soft. Yeah, so there you go, the Conte is just actually brittle and breaking because it's so hard. So this is how I sharpen. I've made this special little box to actually catch all of my wood shavings in there. And it's actually got wet and dry sandpaper on there, which is a fairly fine grit. And I just find that that's a lot better for trying to get a sharp point on pastels rather than using a knife the whole way. So here's me sharpening them. What I actually do is I kind of sharpen them about maybe 50% of the way, and I'm just clearing out all of the wood that's around the outside of the actual pastel insert. And then the next step is to go onto the sandpaper. So here you can see what I'm doing. I'm just lightly turning the pencil as well as rubbing it against the sandpaper and creating a point this way. I find that this is a lot safer way to actually sharpen your pastel pencils because they don't break as easily, and because the pigment is pretty soft in them, it does break a lot, especially if you use pencil sharpeners. I have tried using pencil sharpeners, and that's what I used to do originally, And I tried to find the best quality pencil sharpeners as well, which I found that the Staedtler ones were pretty good, but they still would break, because sometimes the wood in pastel pencils is not always the best quality, even if the actual pastel pigment itself is. So erasing methods that I use, I've got a few different ones, and it depends on what situation I'm actually needing to use them in. But I do go with the Staedtler products. I do like them quite a lot. The Mars Razor pencil one that you can see here is actually really good for graphite pencils. It's not heaps good for pastels, but it is a pretty good blending tool. It doesn't completely remove all of the pastel, though, unfortunately. Sometimes it actually just kind of grinds it into the crevices of the paper, which is not very helpful. It's got a brush on the end of it, which is pretty good for brushing away all of your eraser rubber bits. What I really love is this Kent battery operated eraser. I think it works super cool, and I found that it's probably the best thing that I do use for pastels. It comes with a couple of different inserts in it and a couple of different size eraser inserts that you can put in there. You basically just slip it in like this, and when you press the button it spins around and vibrates. You've got to push it in quite a fair way though, otherwise it's pretty hard to kind of get an accurate erase on it. I do probably prefer to use the smaller eraser inserts like these ones here, and I think maybe they're about 2mm in diameter. They're about the same as the eraser pencil. They work really good for getting fine details. And either if you're wanting to remove pastel from your portrait, or if you're just wanting to crisp up a line, or if you're wanting to just, do a light blend of something together or soften it, it just works really, really well. I just think it's the best tool ever. So I'm just going to do a quick demonstration of the eraser techniques that I use, or that you can use. And some are more effective than others. And I'm actually using different colored pastels as well, just to show you how it works with darker or lighter or mid-range pastels. So I'm just going to use the white right now. I'm showing you that I'm just doing a light coating, and then I'm doing more of a filled in coating of the pastel, just to really make that uniform white feel. And then if you really want to fill a big space, or if you want like a super bright, I find that using the pastel stick is better than the pencils, because it's even softer, so it really kind of gets in to all of those little crevices within the paper. Just doing the same here for the red now. It's just a really light, and then I'm just cross hatching, filling it in, and I'm going to do the same for the black as well. Now, just keeping in mind this is a Conte, so like I said, this is a very hard pastel, so you'll see that this was actually quite hard to erase no matter what I did. So this is using the Mars Razor Staedtler eraser pencil. Just showing it does quite well when there's a light layer of pastel on there. It almost completely removes it. But as we're getting into the thicker layers of the pastel, it starts to struggle and doesn't do a great job. That's whether you're using the pencils or the actual pastel sticks. Just because, yeah, it's hard to kind of get into the actual crevices of the paper itself. And just showing the same thing with the red. It's harder to actually get rid of the red than it was the white. and it's kind of just really smudging the pastel across and not really erasing it very well. And you'll see that as well with the black Conte pastel. It's really hardly removing anything at all, so it's probably not the best tool to use if you're wanting to completely remove pastel. There's a close-up of what they look like. So now just going to be using the battery operated Kent eraser. This one does a way better job, and it's quicker as well. So you can see it's almost completely removed the white. Once again, it's harder to remove the thicker pastel. It's really built up in there, but it still removes quite a lot of it. Colours are a bit harder to get rid of, because I think the red pastel is probably a little bit more of a harder pastel than what the white is. The white's quite soft. And then just showing you just using the traditional eraser. I just clean it first because I find that if you don't clean it, then it can actually smudge onto your paper and leave marks in there, and you can't always get rid of those marks. So I always make sure that the eraser's clean first before I start erasing it. And if I want to erase really big areas of pastel, then this is the method that I would use. It still doesn't 100% remove them, but it probably does the best job overall of getting rid of the majority of the pastel. You can see it's pretty stubborn though. There's no real getting rid of that. That's just the way it is now. But it can be covered quite easily, so that's just a layer of pastel over the top, which you can't really even see the other pastel that was underneath it now. This is a little device that I use for measuring. I used to use a ruler, but I found that this actually works a lot quicker than me trying to do maths in my head when I'm doing portraits. And so yeah, you can actually buy this Derwent measuring stick. I'm not sure if it's actually meant to be a measuring stick. I think because it swivels in the middle, I think it's so that you can transpose something small to something big. But I use it basically as almost like a caliper, and I've actually stuck some needles in the top of it there so that I can get a super fine, millimeter point, so I know exactly where I'm going with the pastel and not having to guess, because you could be half a millimeter off and it will completely change the person's face. So what I do is I measure from the edge, which you can see is why I had the tape so precise there, the blue tape on the side. Measure from the side to the point, and then the top to the same point, and then I know exactly where that point in the face will be, in this case, which is the eyebrow. Well, that's it for today's video, guys. Thanks for watching, and I will keep you updated on the progress of the portrait of Lisa. And yeah, please, if you like what you're seeing, then please subscribe. I know I'm a new channel and it's a little bit clunky, but I'm sure things will get better as I go along. Cheers. See ya.